This is Jason with Chicago News. This week we've got the BMW 740e, and that E stands for eDrive, but you've also got an I here. There's an iDrive system in the center, and this is xDrive all-wheel drive, so we got all the drives here. One of the biggest differences here with a lot of the other 7 Series we've tried is this charge port. You've got fuel on the other side, electricity here. This is a plug-in hybrid. Having that battery on board means that you can have all of this space and all of this luxury and not use a whole bunch of gas. There's a couple other features that BMW's included here to reduce the weight of this vehicle. There's actually a tag right here that shows you that this is a carbon fiber chassis. This whole thing, this whole body is actually made of carbon fiber. All kinds of little luxury touches are everywhere here. Like these soft closed doors, pulls itself in. All you have to do is click it and it takes it the rest of the way. And it's all these little details that really sets this apart. So this front seat is actually set where I would drive it. I'm 6'3" and I'm able to sit basically behind myself and have this much room. It's really an incredible amount of space you get here. This is a car where everyone in the car is going to be extremely comfortable. There's lots to talk about on the outside of this 7 Series and lots of little details that clue us in to how much luxury there is here, but really the proof's in the pudding, so let's hop in and see how much there is to talk about on the inside as well. Now that we've spent a little time behind the wheel of this 740e, the number one word that comes to your mind is comfort. I mean, this thing is all about it. It's what you would expect from a large German sedan. I mean, they really have this dialed in, but this one especially, you know, incredible amount of comfort and refinement even when you compare it versus older 7 Series models. We often talk about comfort and you can kind of throw that word around, but in terms of this car, what I'm talking about is just about every single sense is being treated with respect. It's really quiet in this cabin. You're not being assaulted by all kinds of sounds. The ride is very comfortable. No matter what mode you're in, sport or comfort mode, it still soaks up the bumps and remains firm. But all of the other senses too are being treated well. There's, you know, the steering itself is really light, but at the same time has good feedback. It gives you good stability on center feel. Everything about this car is just feels easy to drive. It feels like you can drive this car forever. And to me, that's what comfort is. This car is meant to hop in, drive it as far as you need to go, and you're going to be comfortable. Of course, that comfort extends to the rear seat occupants as well. A lot of times, you know, you kind of think of this almost as a limo use, and the backseat passengers have some of the most amount of legroom that you can imagine. I mean, this thing is a long car, but they make great use of that space. Rear climate control, they've got their own controls back there. One small gripe is that it's pretty easy when you're putting something in the back seat to kind of turn up the heat in the back. There's no monitor in the front here that tells you what's going on back there. So the other day I was kind of like wondering why my back was so hot, but other than that, it's nice to have 4-zone climate control in here. Besides just having comfort in here, you've got incredible finishes as well. We often talk a lot about the finishes in different cars and sometimes about disappointments in some of those finishes, and here couldn't be further from the case. We've got incredible stitched patterns everywhere on top of the dash, on the door panels. The wood inlays, you know, a lot of times there's no rhyme or reason to the grain pattern. Here, they've actually got the grain pattern repeating on here. So what they've done is cut slices of this and woven them back and forth. There's even a really intricate inlay here in front of the passenger area where there's a stripe of wood in contrasting color inside here behind the clear. So you've got an incredible high level of finishes, and this isn't the top of the line version. This one is optioned out to just under $100,000, $99,000. So you can even go a lot higher than this in terms of finishes. Of course, another part of that comfort is in the suspension, and you know, they've got different driving modes, adaptive suspension. We've just clicked over to Comfort Plus here, and we're on a brick road, really bumpy and undulating, and we're gonna see how this thing does here. All right, we're going 40 miles an hour. We're about to hit these bumps, and it just soaks them right up. I mean, it's really incredible because there's a firmness there that gives you confidence, but at the same time, you can feel the car reacting to the bumps. So the adaptive suspension is really impressive here. We've got some really great features and technology that contribute to comfort here, but What we haven't talked about yet is the fact that even a few years ago, if you had told me there'd be a 7 Series sedan with a 2-liter engine that I would actually enjoy driving, I would probably have chuckled a little bit. You know, having small displacement engines has been long a practice in Europe, but over here in the US we're used to big displacement, bigger engines in our bigger cars. What they've done now is combine the 2-liter turbo with an electric motor and 9-kilowatt battery, and you've got essentially a plug-in hybrid. While the range, the EV only range is probably only around 10 miles, you still have that option. You plug it in overnight. It'll definitely save you on gas, but ultimately what it gives you is a boost of power, especially at full throttle. This thing will put out somewhere around 350 horsepower and almost 400 foot-pounds of torque from a 2-liter turbo. It actually makes this 7 Series fly, and it gives it incredible mileage at the same time. So the technology that is in the powertrain here, it really is sort of the powertrain of the future, and the 2-liter itself actually sounds decent and is enjoyable to drive as well. As far as fuel mileage ratings go, this is rated at 64 MPGe, 27 gasoline only average. Obviously, it doesn't give the breakdown for city versus highway, but going around the city, we were getting in the mid-20s with a huge 7 Series sedan, which is hugely impressive. The hybrid system in this really isn't designed for EV-only range. It's designed to charge that battery up fully overnight to give the best support you can for the gasoline engine, and that's what really gives you the mileage. And as with most hybrids, city driving gives you the best mileage because you're getting that regenerative braking effect. Every time you step on the brakes, you're recharging that battery. So, all right, let's see what this thing can do. Immediately you get that huge shove of torque. It puts your torso back into the seat. You know, that's really what's most impressive about this. It, you know, has great high-end power as well, but the electric motor is what gives you that initial torque. So right when you step on it, you get that shove, and then the gasoline engine carries you through to the higher RPM. So it really is a seamless combination of the electric and the gasoline powertrain. Really impressive stuff. As you might expect, we've got several different drive modes here. You've got comfort, sport, eco, but you've also got an adaptive mode here, and a lot of times the adaptive mode is kind of a throwaway because it doesn't really change or react quick enough. But this adaptive mode is really impressive. You put your foot down and it gives you sport mode right away. You know, you're on a bumpy road, it's going to give you comfort plus. You know, it really is actively engaged in switching modes. You know, the eco mode itself uses a lot more regenerative braking. It slows down some of the air conditioning and heating elements to really give you boost mileage. So, you know, these modes, not only are they each individually very active, but this active mode really makes it select the best mode, and it really is a seamless experience. A couple other really cool touches for the rear seat occupants is there's controls for all the sunshades. They can individually control it from each door in the back, so you know that's not even a central control, it's for each individual person, so you don't have to ask the front seat occupants or the drivers to change the shades for you. You've got a shade over the rear moonroof, you've got one for the rear window, and you can control both of those individually. The cool thing about these moonroofs is there's an actual strip of colored LED light here that goes along the wood trim, and that same color is echoed in the moonroof. There's a pattern in the glass, and at night there's a light that shines through the glass and it actually illuminates the pattern. Again, it's really, you know, just kind of adds to the special feel inside this thing. It doesn't really contribute much, but those little touches really add up. The adaptive modes are so comprehensive they even change the whole gauge cluster. So your instrumentation changes depending on which mode you're in. Instead of just a little light that says comfort or eco mode, as you change, you actually get a completely different display, different colors. The gauges have different functions, even have different ranges on them. In sport mode, it takes away a lot of the speeds. It gives you just every 40 miles an hour. You change back into comfort, it changes to blue, it changes the actual gauges. So really comprehensive how much these modes affect. It's not just a drive mode and a light, it actually really adapts the car. When BMW first came out with their iDrive control system over 10 years ago now, it wasn't really well liked. They've done is systematically over the years improved it, and this current one is the best one yet. You really have incredible flexibility with not just your controls, but how you want to set up the display. You can do a split screen setup. You've got easy access to all the menus. Not only are the menus and the systems easy to use, but this actual control interface is the best yet as well. They've added a touchpad in the center here, so you can actually draw out letters in the navigation. For actually going through the menus, you use this joystick and track wheel. So everything has its function. There's so much you can do with just a few buttons and this center control. Really refined control and menus with this system. Our test car has the Harman Kardon stereo system, and it really does sound fantastic. Very tight, controlled sound, very high fidelity. You know, this is one of the better high-end audio systems that you can get in a car, and it's what you would expect here. You know, all these features and comfort and safety that you get in this car, you know, we have to remember this is still $100,000. This is a lot of money, but you definitely expect a lot if you're going to put down or borrow $100,000 for a car like this. And this delivers. Speaking of the safety, you've got some incredible systems here. All of the same systems that you get in other cars, but what sets this apart is the function of them. You know, for instance, the adaptive cruise, the way that it reacts when a car moves in front of you. You're going down the highway, you have the adaptive cruise set, and someone changes lanes in front of you. This car reacts very smoothly when it puts on the brakes. Everything feels very smooth and controlled. Another interesting feature that it has, instead of beeping or shaking the seat or shaking the steering wheel when you haven't touched the wheel for long enough, it gives you 10-12 seconds of, you know, lane assist and adaptive driving. But if you haven't been engaged with it for a long time, it'll just start slowing down. There's no better way to get your attention than to have the car suddenly start slowing down. It's really the best and most effective way I've seen yet to sort of remind the driver to get back with the wheel. You got this incredible widescreen here. It's a little bit smaller than some of the screens we see in others, but check out this 360 view display. What's really cool about it is you've not only got your guidelines, but you start to get warnings here as you find different things, and those warnings change color as you back up. It's a really cool display. What's even cooler is when you put it in park, it shows you the door swings here, so you can see if you've got room to fully open your door. If there's something next to you, it'll show you. So incredibly clear, incredibly helpful 360 view. There's high expectations when you pay $100,000 for a car like this. This BMW 740e delivers, not just in the technology, not just in the luxury aspect, but just the overall feel you get driving this thing. It's the kind of car you don't want to give up after a week of driving it. And having driven lots of different cars, that doesn't happen very often. So they really have done a great job with this new 7 Series, and adding that hybrid element makes this feel like the technology of the future. This really is a seamless combination of technology and luxury.